It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Chicago Red Stars co-owner and Girls Soccer Network, Jen Gruskoff. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get into the ownership role in an NWSL team?
Yeah, as a kid, I always wanted to own a sports team. It was just a fantasy, I grew up going to Dodgers games and Rams games here in Los Angeles. It always seemed like it seemed like a fascinating thing to be a part of. And when I launched Girls Soccer Network, I became highly aware of the NWSL and what it was, doing. I had been a big fan of the US women's national team, but to really see a league where women were getting paid to play, even though they don't get paid enough, but that this was actually a league that was developing and working. And I thought, God, it would be so cool to own a women's soccer team at that point.
That's so amazing. What is Girls Soccer Network about?
Girls Soccer Network is basically, it's a network of girls and women. It's kind of, if you look at soccer, it starts very young, and you have a kind of a network, a constellation of women and girls that love this sport, and the sport helps shape them and becomes a part of their DNA. And the idea of the network was really, how do we create this chain of kind of giving, to one another and back to the sport and out into the world. That was the idea, to really build a community for girls and women to be a part of, to create content. My background is, as I'm a writer. My business partner owns a production company here in Los Angeles. So we come from the kind of the creative world. And when we launched it in 2017, there was only a couple of sites that were out there that were really trying to come up with great content that would entertain and inspire when girls weren't on the field. So we thought, let's try this. And so we put up an Instagram, and we just started to make some content and share other people's content. And we've grown significantly. We have, a large social media following and a website where we do editorial and a podcast. And so, yeah.
How has, of course, having the network and having the podcast helped you to where you are now with the Chicago Red Stars being in the ownership role?
Well, for sure, without Girls Soccer Network, I never would have been in the ownership role. That's for, and one of the first things that we did at Girls Soccer Network was, we really wanted to make a documentary about a women's professional soccer team. And so at that point in 2017, I think that there were 8 teams. Now there are 10. Next year, they're going to be 12, right? So I was reaching out to professional players to see if they would create content for us, because I knew that girls playing, they look up to these women who are professional. One of the players that I reached out to was a player named Jen Hoy. She played for the Chicago Red Stars. She was a forward there. She went to Princeton, and she was really into wellness and food and health. So I DM'd her, right? And she answered me back. Like, this is literally like week 2 of Girls Soccer Network. And I was so excited. I was like, oh, Jen Hoy, this professional soccer player, she said that she would make some content with us. So my business partner and I, grew so fond of her that we said, let's fly to Chicago and meet her. So we did, and we went to a Red Stars game, and my business partner's from Chicago. So he invited his sister, and we thought, why isn't there a TV show about, a women's soccer team? So then we actually ended up going back to Chicago and spending a month with the team and filming them and creating what's called the sizzle reel, this is what this show is going to be about. And we had many meetings at Netflix about it. And unfortunately, it never panned out, which I still struggle with. But what happened was I not only met Jen Hoy, I met a few of the other players. And most importantly, I met Nwsl, the owner of the Red Stars. And we had just a great rapport and friendship. And he's always been a huge help. We have a podcast, like I said, the first person on our podcast happened to be Sam Kerr, because Arnhem reached out to her. And, Sam Kerr is one of the best players in the world. And so, he really did us a solid. And so I'll never forget that. He really helped us build this network. And for that reason, when the ownership possibility opened up for the Red Stars, this was something that Michael Raimondi, my business partner, and I thought, we want to be a part of this and be a part of this team. It's one of the oldest NWSL teams. They're consistently in the top tier of the league. And so how can we support them in the way that they supported us, right? So that's how it came to be.
What was it like, obviously, going full circle, and obviously how they supported you, and now you're part of the ownership team and they supported you? How is that like, going full circle?
I mean, it's kind of a dream, honestly. I'm like I said, I'm like the newest owner, so I can't share a lot of experience with you on that. But what I can say is that to see what Arnhem and the heads of that team have done to really bring in amazing people, a lot of them Chicago natives who want to help continue to build this league, women's sports in general. There are some just fantastic people who I've come to meet and am completely inspired by.
Why did you want to get into being a NWSL owner, and why should people want to get into being an NWSL owner?
I mean, I think I spoke to some of the reasons that I wanted to be an owner. It was always a fantasy to own a sports team. It used to be a baseball team in my mind when I was a little kid, but then as I got older and honestly, my oldest daughter was a club soccer player, and managing, and I became the manager of that team with my business partner on Girls Soccer Network. His daughter played too. And that actually was the start of kind of having some, I don't know, not authority, but being able to be involved in the direction of a team and something that is, a group of people. It's the same as like being on a movie, you know what I mean? Where you're really kind of in this world, and that's always really excited me. And the full circle part of it is just, it's the best part of life when you can see how, the seeds that you plant early on actually can result in something that's tangible. And I think that supporting the NWSL is not only a great investment because it is going up. Yes, there have been some stumbles and certainly some very real issues that are being addressed, I think, in an incredible way with the league, with each team. But I do think that supporting women's sports is absolutely a win-win situation right now, Yeah.
Of course, how have you been able to balance obviously working for your network and also being the co-owner of a NWSL team? What is that
Well,
balance like for you?
most of my day-to-day is Girls Soccer Network, and I am involved in, going to the meetings for the team if I can help in any way. For us, we are a league agnostic company, so we don't just report on the Red Stars. We do articles on every NWSL team. We have every NWSL player that we can on our podcast. So I can't just skew Girls Soccer Network towards the Red Stars as much as I might like to, right? To promote the team that, I'm behind. But, we love Angel City. I'm an LA native. What they've done is unbelievable, and the people that they've gotten involved in really building that team. Now next year, there's going to be the San Diego team, right? So I'm interested in all of these teams and what they're doing and how they're building and supporting their players and the women that, are behind it. It's a bit like the Wild West right now, where we're really, I guess the gold rush in a way. I mean, not to put a dollar sign on it, but just in that there's so much to do. There's so much work to do. There's so many incredible opportunities to continue your career as an athlete that are opening up, not just on the field, but, afterwards, not just broadcasting, but like in the front office of different teams. So it's just an exciting time.
Of course, with Girls Soccer Network, how do you go about getting the players to obviously come on the podcast to talk about their experience playing?
Most of the time, like you, I try to go through the head of comms for each team. If I have a relationship in some way, I will go to the player, not because I want to go, it is the proper protocol to go through communications. But I know now that we've been doing this 4 years, we have relationships with many, people on each team, so that's how we go about it. And I mean, we don't just cover the NWSL, we cover club soccer. We have a partnership with the ECNL. So for example, we've had the head of Slammers FC, some of the top clubs, those managers come on and talk about with that experience. We've had Jen Winnagle, who's just literally 2 days ago went from the commissioner to the COO of the ECNL, which is, as you might know, one of the top leagues in youth soccer. I mean, they are really a feeding ground for the NWSL. And obviously, we have college players on our podcast as well. So we go through the normal routes through communications, unless we have a contact that we can reach out to directly.
What are some of your future plans with the network?
Well, God, we have a lot of plans. Actually, we're really now looking at building out our website, to creating premium content that is, around training, it's around training, mentorship, but also because we come from the land of, storytelling and movies and TV, really trying to create some intellectual property, which is that TV shows around the sport, around players, and not even just TV shows, but books, and other kind of ways that can entertain and inspire young women.
Of course, what are what advice would you give people looking to go into professional sports on the ownership side?
Wow. That is something that I think if it's something that is really a dream, right? Learn about, I would say if they're young and they can intern, let's say even working, you know, in the sales, selling tickets for a team. There's so many different levels of what it takes to run a team. There's the PR department, right? So learning all those different aspects of what it takes, scheduling, I think is valuable. Learning how, being the kit person on a team, what does that take? Like there's so many jobs that goes into having a successful team. Really thinking like, okay, what are the moving parts here? What can I learn about that? And then if you are able to and privileged enough to be able to buy your way into it, then go for it. If it's something that you strongly believe in, or if you want to start a team, that's a lot of business that you have to really, really understand. You're raising money at that point. So that's a different skill set. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say read as much as you can, listen to what owners say when they're on podcasts, when there's, articles written on them, kind of steep yourself in that world.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
We are at Girls Soccer Network on Instagram and Facebook, and on Twitter we're at Girls Soccer Net.
Thank you again, Jen, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with Girls Soccer Network and obviously with the Chicago Red Stars being the co-owner.
Thank you, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at @talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Jen, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thanks again.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.